yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won, yeah. I hope my team they won, yeah. Man, I hope my team they won, yeah. I hope my team they won, yeah. I tuned into the HBCU Sports Lab to see my team won along. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, she tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Bill, he know what he be talking about. Talking about Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who's about. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boy. You gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that me act, yeah, let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay, and tune into the HBCU Sports Lab, with Dr. Bill, Mike and Charles, long time.
This is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, presented by Amber Slaughter, the project architect. Amber Slaughter, the project architect, where they handle the project planning, project development, project execution, and team management so you can run your business. Contact Amber Slaughter, the project architect, at www.theprojectarchitect.com to schedule an appointment. That is www.theprojectarchitect.com to schedule an appointment. Welcome and thanks for joining us inside our studio lecture hall of sports, the HBCU Sports Lab, for the only weekly sports talk radio show that is dedicated to exploring the sporting HBCU diaspora including the marching sport with its unique HBCU cultural identity, the teams, the bands, coaches, athletic directors, commissioners, provosts, presidents, big rivalry matchup, classic games, homecomings, and much, much more of the HBCU athletic aesthetics. As we emerge our lecture with the sports business practices in the competitive sports industry, the show seeks to provide innovative, progressive, and informative dialogue about the week's HBCU sporting events, issues, and ideas from a fan's perspective. We review the Southwestern Athletic Conference, better known as the SWAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, better known as the MEAC of the NCAA Division I, Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, SIAC, the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association, the CIAA of the NCAA Division II, Gulf Coast Athletic Conference of the NAIA, and independent programs such as Tennessee State of the OVC, Hampton of the Big South. I kind of stole your thunder.
I was ready.
Hampton
of the Big South.
Langston of the Sooner Athletic Conference, and Texas College affiliated member of the Sooner Athletic Conference also, as well as Edward Waters as the transition from the NAIA to NCAA Division II and membership in the SIAC. They're still playing basketball this year in terms of the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. There was some thoughts that they would play a SIAC basketball schedule, but I'm guessing in terms of the affiliation, NCAA guidelines and rules, and NAIA, maybe just playing the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, say not so fast. Let's finish this out. That they decided to change that disposition in terms of playing the all other sports, if you would, and switching over. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, a.k.a. the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports. Just so you know. With that going on, Charles, give us some news of the day.
Yeah,
before we got the little treat that you're going to provide everybody.
Yeah. Let's jump right into it. Let's take a look at the players of the week. We'll start in the SWAC. On the women's side of the ball, Texas Southern graduate guard Siani Pryor, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania native. She averaged 25.5 points per game in Texas Southern's 2 victories, one over Mississippi Valley, the other over Arkansas Pine Bluff. But Siani goes for 30 points, and check this out, 9 assists, 6 steals, and 5 rebounds in the 88-58 win over Mississippi Valley. She comes back Monday night, scores 21 points against Arkansas Pine Bluff, and she also sank 2 clutch foul shots with 18 seconds remaining. So Siani Pryor, she is the women's basketball player of the week in the SWAC. Looking at the MEAC, Amaya Scott, the 6'1" forward from Bethune-Cookman. She averaged 20 points and 8 rebounds and 2 wins. She tied a career high of 23 points and 6 rebounds, 3 assists and 3 steals and 2 blocks against North Carolina A&T, as she led the team with 17 points, 10 boards as well against South Carolina State. So those two players, they are the women's players of the week in the SWAC and the MEAC. Let's take a look at the SIAC and the CIAA. The lady, Shanasia White, 5'10" junior forward from Benedict in the SIAC. She led the Lady Tigers with 19 points and 7 rebounds and 5 assists and a 92-62 win over Savannah State. That stretches their win streak to 13 games, Dr. Gabil.
That's pretty nice.
CIAA.
Solid work.
CIAA, you're right, very solid work. Shamika McNeil, the 5'5" junior guard from Virginia Union. She averaged 17 points and 3.5 rebounds in 3 games, shooting 88% from the line, 15 of 17. She also had 16 points versus Shaw and 16 versus ECSU and 20 versus Johnson C. Smith in a 3-0 week. So those are your women's players of the week in the SIAC, CIAA, MEAC, and the SWAC.
Great work there. Wanted to give a little shout out to some news that I thought was interesting. Maybe get your thoughts before we jump ahead here. Morgan State Bears on Twitter, along with Grambling State Twitter. Kim Rashad's HBCUsports.com did an exclusive on it. Talking about the special branded shoes that are obviously those two institutions have Adidas as their brand marketing for their athletic program, and Adidas has done a pair of shoes exclusively for those two respective bands. Both of the shoes look really cool. I'm not preferential to Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, obviously associated with Texas Southern University. I wear the Under Armour in terms of supporting Texas Southern University brand, and then supporting Prairie View with Adidas. But I thought this was really unique and a nice little setup. Put some of that stuff out, and you can go check out on the Facebook Live, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports, where you actually catch the show. I have that information there, so you can go check out and read that if you hadn't caught it. Twitter, obviously, also you have baseball.
Yes.
People started to announce their baseball schedule. 2020 JSU baseball season. Tickets available. They're getting out in front of different things, so you start to see these schedules. One of the things interesting before we get back into more basketball is the fact they're going to have an HBCU classic in Jackson State. We're going to take on North Carolina A&T and FAMU on the schedule. I thought it was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Heard Carlos on a Carlos radio show with Dr. Prince, Michael Prince, talking about that a little bit. They talked about some information I thought was very interesting in regards to the baseball schedule changing in regards to playing in divisions. They'll have it broken down divisions to schedule it, but essentially they'll play 8 games regardless of the division. So they'll play in both sides. So they'll look more like football schedule where they play I guess essentially 8 conference members and rotate a conference member every couple of years or so. I think probably mathematically it looks like to me it's going to be 2, but hadn't saw what the breakdown actually is. Michael Prince on Carlos Brown's show talked about the fact that the 2 furthest schools, Texas Southern University and Prairie View A&M University, obviously previously in the West Division, and Alabama A&M and Alabama State in the East Division, would not be in a position where they would have to travel respectively to either of those states twice. So you might would do it once, but not twice. Right. Is also a part of the scheduling, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah. As Prince, anybody doesn't know, he has his show. Obviously, you can check it out
daily
in regards to that. And he played baseball at Prairie View A&M University, big time baseball fan at all levels. Certainly in terms of SWAC, HBCU baseball, does a tremendous amount of work about supporting what I refer to as black college baseball, HBCU baseball in general, specifically more so Prairie View whenever the opportunity avails itself. So I wanted to give a little credit in terms of where I got that information from, in terms of what was going on there. And then you had on Twitter, you had a statement from Coach Lindsey Hunter about legacy of Kobe Bryant. And so, again, you can go to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab about the quote. He starts out, "If you love basketball, part of you has been lost. Kobe was a prime example of how to build the perfect basketball player." That's the first sentence in his entirety quote. And with that, I know you had a chance to interview him. Before we get into that, one thing I thought was appropriate, Valley was here this weekend for the Texas Southern Prairie View road trip. Obviously played Texas Southern on Saturday and then played Prairie View Monday night. And before that game, both teams honored Kobe Bryant. Obviously with his connection, it was even more meaningful and appropriate that they did the 24-second clock violation, as they had the individual in the middle of the court dribbling the ball, giving reverence to the lost Kobe Bryant. Touched many people.
Yeah.
Obviously, many people may not think there is a HBCU connection, but we just talked about Lindsey Hunter playing in the NBA and playing part of that time against Kobe Bryant. So we got a chance to talk about that with now Coach Lindsey Hunter of the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils. So talk about a little bit before you actually play the interview. It's my understanding you got the chance to talk to him a little bit. So what did he say before you really got into the meat of the interview?
Yeah, well, obviously, talked to him. He's still in shock, if you will. We talked Sunday night and talked about his reflections, not only playing against Kobe, but he played a year with Kobe, and we kind of talked a little bit about his reflections on playing with him as a teammate, and talking about watching him in practice and things of that nature. So he was very reflective in terms of the time that he spent playing against and with Kobe.
So we'll play this now. It's about a 5-minute or so clip. If you allow us to jump into that, get that done. This interview, again, is done by Charles Bishop of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show, interviewing Coach Lindsey Hunter, former NBA player from Jackson State University, now coaching at Mississippi Valley State, the Delta Devils.
To be great. And when you have a person this special like that, nothing's going to get in their way of being great. And he was just that type of person. He wanted to be great at basketball, and he wanted to be the best ever. And nothing was going to stop him from attaining that goal. And he worked at it endlessly, you know, and you have to respect that. And I had so much respect and admiration for his work ethic because no one outworked Kobe.
And you know, when people talk about the Mamba mentality, you had an opportunity to kind of see it up close. Just talk about his practice. Everybody talks about his practice habits were legendary, but you got an opportunity to see it up close every day in practice. Just talk a little bit about just watching him go about his greatness, if you will.
Well, I was telling someone else about remembering going to a shoot-around and how detailed he was. He wanted to know, you know, every single thing that was going on with the opposing team so he could be ready. He wanted no surprises. He wanted to know where the ball needed to be denied, where they were running pin downs, or where they were running an option to a certain play. And I watched him meticulously go through everything, and you know, he was in game mode in shoot-arounds and walkthroughs. And I've never seen anything like it. It was fascinating to watch him. And you could tell he was different. Even in situations like that, he was just different. His approach was different. You know, he took everything serious to heart. And man, it left an impression on me. And for him back then, you know, the same Mamba mentality wasn't out then, but that's the thing that drove him. And now to see it so widespread and hearing little kids say it and the impression he left upon this world, you know, it was incredible.
And I wanted to follow up on that because you mentioned the impression he left upon the world. Why do you think Kobe resonates with so many people across so many platforms? You have tributes today pouring in not just from the sports world, but from entertainment, from across all, I guess, platforms within sports, from basketball to football to hockey. But why did Kobe resonate like that?
I think because of his attitude. Kobe was one of the rare people who never cared what other people thought about him. You know, he only cared about driving toward his goal and being successful at his goal. And people respected that because that's a unique talent. You know, everybody can't walk around here and take criticisms for their inadequacies, and he could. You know, I remember him when he struggled against Utah in the playoffs when he was a young pup. How many people could bounce back after that situation and do what he did? It takes a unique person to do that. He took the criticism. He shot 5 or 6 air balls in the playoffs and came back so much better because he got in the gym probably the day after that happened and dedicated his summer to getting better. And man, I tell young kids about kids, you know, wanting to be like Kobe. I said, if you want to be like Kobe, look at what he did. Go read about the dedication he had. You know, he just didn't work out one time a day. His entire summers, the entire day was filled with him getting better at basketball.
And Lindsey, I know you all. You were a dogged defender yourself. Did you guys have any one-on-one battles in practice?
Oh, absolutely. And it was funny. I was telling one of my players how me and Kobe kind of got to be cool because where I'm from and how my father raised me, I never backed down from anybody. And we got into it in practice, and it got heated. And to the point where Phil Jackson had to step in and stop it. And after that day, I became Kobe's vet. Like every time he would see me, that's my vet right there. And to gain respect from a guy like that who was a cold-blooded, basketball killer was meant a lot to me.
I'm sure. Any reflections of that season of anything that just stands out in your mind from Kobe Bryant?
The biggest thing was we were going to Jersey to play the closeout game, and Kobe comes out with a Michael Jordan jersey on and a shooting shirt, and everybody was like, "Whoa."
Right.
But that's how confident he was in himself, and man, we lost a giant today. I mean, we lost truly one of the great ambassadors to what basketball is supposed to be.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you sharing your perspective and lending some reflections on the passing of Kobe Bryant today, and prayers, of course, go out to his family. And I thank you for taking time out tonight to just share your reflections with Coach on Kobe Bryant.
Thank you so much, and absolutely prayers to his wife and his parents and his kids. And then that's all we can do is pray for them and give them time to, heal from this situation.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so very much, Coach.
All right. Thank you.
Certainly, that was an interview for those that might have joined us doing that. That was an interview of Charles Bishop interviewing Lindsey Hunter, former NBA player, obviously Jackson State University, famous, should be Hall of Famer in terms of the SWAC. Jackson State University in terms of what he got done. Soon to be currently the head men's basketball coach at Mississippi Valley State University. Tough season this far, but certainly with all that, getting prepared for a game the next day, coming off a tough loss. I really appreciate him taking the time out to do that. An excellent job of you, Charles, finding the angle to create the HBCU connection and giving us the chance in our own way to pay homage to somebody that I grew up with. And excellent job by Ralph doing a show on that. And one of the things I'll put out there that he alluded into his show in terms of why young people, middle-aged people, if you want to call it that, would have a connection with Kobe. And one of the things is it was unique in a lot of ways with Kobe from the standpoint that we saw him literally grow up in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And because of the time we live in with all the social media platforms and how much television is upon us, we literally watched him grow up
Very
in
much
front
so.
of us
Yeah.
into a high school phenom in a lot of ways. And this is before we started focusing so much on high school, and you see that even more with LeBron James, obviously, and those after that. But literally, certainly, in terms of as he matured through the NBA, through his ups and downs, the imperfections, like any man or woman in terms of this world, and to what most people feel is an adult that was doing so much, literally around the world. So it's fascinating to do that. So obviously, for somebody that didn't know the family, prayers, like a lot of people say, is go out to that. And this gives me an opportunity to also say for a fraternity brother of mine, and this is in Epsilon Gamma Iota. Many people probably not familiar with that. ECI, which is the Engineering Concept Institute, was born out of that in 1984. A brother that brought me into that, Eric, passed away and lost his battle from a week ago. So wanted to also provide condolences.
Yes, indeed.
As a lot of Epsilon members were well connected with him, and we took up donations and for the family, and just to let you know how moving he was with that. Collecting money to help as they look for insurance policies, and for those out there, don't think it's too early to get your insurance policies to make sure, because you just never know.
Right.
And you certainly don't want to be quote unquote a burden on the family. So wanted to give full kudos.
Yes, indeed.
And just deep feelings
Right.
for those involved in that situation.
Sure thing.
With that, we got an interview where we're going to get back into a little more of the lighter side of things, if you would. It's tough to do that, and some may see it not quite as appropriate, but we'll see if we can get this call lined up as we try to look at some reflections from the Honda Battle of the Band, as we have a guest coming up. So we'll see if we can get that going shortly. See if you can hook it up or not. Check with Ralph to see if we can get him to come in here, try to hook that up. As you're doing that, as we bring on and get ready for Brother Wesby to do his analysis, what are your thoughts in terms of what you saw? I know personally a lot of connection there, being a Lakers fan. Obviously, growing up being a fan of Lindsey Hunter. And so to see those connections playing together, I'm sure there was serious connections in terms of what was going on at that time.
Right.
In terms of that. So before we get on the line, we're going to give you those reflections, and then we'll see if we can bring on Brother Wes.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you got an opportunity to watch probably one of the greater basketball players that we've seen in our lifetime in terms of watching Kobe Bryant, kind of like you mentioned, grow up. And just shocking. And I think we happened to be texting each other when I got the breaking TMZ alert. And, you kind of ride a wave of emotions because you saw it, and I'm very keen on catching spoof sites, and that wasn't a spoof site. And I kept turning the TV trying to find verify, and nothing was on for like a good 15 minutes.
Find answers for the unexplainable.
Exactly. So
no matter what comes out of the information, in a lot of ways, it'll be a treasure, so it'll always be an answer.
Right.
But with that, let you bring on our guests, and then we'll get in some questions. We're ready to bring them on now.
Sure thing. We're bringing on Brother James Wesby, and we've had him on our show before. James is former drum major, Sonny Boom of the South. But he has
There's a lot of Jackson State going on.
A lot of Jackson State, I know, right? But he always
I don't know
brings
about this.
tremendous insight.
What's this first?
He brings tremendous insight in terms of talking about the bands and things of that nature. I mean, he brought us out that tier system that he takes a look at, and he's gone to this Honda Battle of the Bands. He's watched it over the years, and he really does a great job of chronicling what goes on and what goes into these performances. So he always brings tremendous insight. So I would like to, give him an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about this year's Honda Battle of the Bands. Some people refer to it as the Super Bowl of bands. So, so he has tremendous insight in terms of that.
All right. Have you on the line, Brother Wes?
Yes. Good evening, fellas. Well, good evening, brother. How are you all?
Pretty good.
How you
We're going to
doing,
see if
Jay?
we can work a little bit on the sound.
Yeah, I
there.
try to get boost a little sound in there for you, but
Do I sound far away?
Yeah,
you
your
kinda sound far
volume
away.
low on your side.
How about now?
A little better.
a little better, still kind of far away.
All right, what about now, guys?
Let's try to work on it and then try to bring you back on because you still kind of sound a little distant. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but in the meantime, while we're trying to kind of figure out what exactly is going on with the volume on James,
Okay.
why don't you hang up and call back in, and let's see if we can get the volume kind of squared away with regards to bringing you back on. While we're waiting on him to do that, I did want to mention the HBCU guys that we have in the XFL. I think a tremendous opportunity for some more HBCU players to get an opportunity to
Great point.
play pro ball, and I wanted to give shout out to those guys. Before I do that, I wanted to shout out Demetrius House, who helped set up that interview with Lindsey Hunter. Definitely wanted to check Southern University guy. He's now sports information director at Mississippi Valley State, but wanted to mention that. Let me mention real quickly the HBCU guys that are playing in the XFL who made teams for the Dallas Renegades. Offensive tackle Justin Evans, he comes from South Carolina State. For the DC Defenders, tight end from Bowie State is Kari Lee. For the Houston Roughnecks, right here in Houston, Deja Olate, he played cornerback at North Carolina A&T, and Demetrius Rainey, offensive lineman from Tennessee State. For the Los Angeles Wildcats, a lot of people in the SWAC remember this name, Mr. Electricity, Martez Carter, running back from Grambling. Brandon Barnes, tight end from Alabama State. For the St. Louis Battlehawks, you have former Raider Marquette King from Fort Valley State, and Leonard Tillery, running back from Southern. A lot of us remember him. And from the Tampa Bay Vipers, Daniel Williams from Jackson State. A lot of us remember him playing for Jackson State 2013, 2014. So those are your HBCU guys in the XFL that starts next week.
Great job. Let's see if we can go back and pick up James Westby. James, you back?
Can you hear me? I am back.
Yeah, we can hear you. Still a little low. Let's see if we can try to get through it and see if it's on our side and get some volume through a headphone set and stuff like that.
Well, James, I wanted to start off by asking you, 2020 Honda Battle of the Bands, you always bring quite a bit of information in terms of the bands that performed in it, and you have your ranking system. And I was trying to get a little insight in terms of what you thought about this year's Honda Battle of the Bands.
You know what? There was some good points to the band overall. I thought it was a nominal show for majority of the band. I was highly impressed to see that Sam Hugh is back, and actually have them ranked number 2 in this Honda Battle of the Bands. I had North Carolina number 1, Sam Hugh number 2. Coming in at number 3 was number 4 was Prairie View. Number 5 was Tennessee State. Memphis was after that. And Jackson State fell all the way to 7. And then had Benedict at number 8.
Yeah, Benedict.
So-
Benedict was at number 8. So with that being said, it seemed like there is a consistency of the lineup. And that is, you will have the drum major intro, the drill, the ballad song, the auxiliary with the dancing girls, and then you have the dance routine. I didn't see anybody just, break that equation or break that lineup except FAMU as well as North Carolina A&T. So what I'm saying is, if you do this over a period of time, you're starting to get a little bored because you know what the drum major is going to do, you know what everybody's going to do, and that's what I used to always tell everybody, that this is not hard at all when you think about the Battle of the Bands. Just do the opposite of what everybody else is doing.
I love it.
I'm saying? So,
yep.
The biggest thing is that there were a lot of talk about North Carolina being number 1 HBCU band, and I had my own debate. But after this show, without seeing Southern now, because I didn't put Southern there, I will put my stamp that North Carolina A&T may be the best HBCU band.
Whoa!
Breaking news!
Whoa!
This is from somebody that's, for lack of better words, belly in the beast. I mean, that really understands bands, lives it, did it.
Immersed in the culture.
Yeah, did it with one of the best bands around, certainly. I'm sure in your mind, the best band at that time, for sure.
Right. Right.
I figured you agree with that. I like that attitude.
Right.
But on seriousness, it's just amazing right now, the ride that North Carolina A&T is on.
What a time to be an Aggie.
I mean, you just roll the dice and they getting it done in every facet. And rope, obviously, what you see in athletics, football, right up in the top of the conferences. We'll get into a big matchup they have this week. Showdown with Norfolk State that is undefeated in conference play and one way back. Now you're going to tell me that they're getting it done with the band as well? Oh, my.
And we talked about this several times, and it boils down to the identity, their unique style, their sound. They're not taking away of who they are. They're going to do their roll heel marching. The announcer is phenomenal, that kind of aligned with their program or whatever their theme.
Right.
They just did a good job of mapping it out. And when I say map it out, this is what I'm going to do in the beginning, and it's going to climax. So what happened? It had the fans saying this: "What's next? My mouth is watering. What is next?" And then when they play Happy Feelings, come on,
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm like,
yeah, it's hard to lose that.
Your show. Yeah, so you're taking it higher and higher, and the percussion section, the cold steel, and they just jamming throughout the whole entire show. They were just jamming. You just had the ability to get up and just jam with them, and that's the band that will win this Honda Battle of the Bands. It's not hard.
James, you made a point in terms of talking about these band competitions, that the format is a little longer than your normal halftime show. How does that change up kind of mapping out the program, if you will?
Well, some bands are so used to a short time frame when it comes to halftime. You're looking at 7-8 minutes, so they feel rushed. So when they don't have these restrictions, I think they don't know what to do with their time. So it's almost like, all right, I'm just going to throw some things out there. They're not really methodically, strategically thinking about the fans. They're thinking about, how can I just fill up this time? And when you have programs like North Carolina A&T, who are used to these Battle of the Bands, because what happens? They have a whole halftime show to themselves. Because where they are, you don't have bands traveling to their football games, so they have the whole entire show. FAMU has the whole entire show. They don't have bands that come there and they have to chop up their time. But when you have a Jackson State that's like, I got 13 minutes instead of 7 minutes, what I'm gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna add 2 drum majors and make 6 drum majors and marching down the field. So make that a part of the auxiliary, and it doesn't work, So that may be the issue. Another thing that I found out.
I'll follow you on that.
the announcers. When
That's
you
a
have
good
a
point.
proper announcer for the Sonic Boom saying the Sonic Boom is in the building, and everybody is just like, that's the energy you're giving out to the fans, and they want chills down their spine. So when you have a FAMU announcer saying, "Who killed Ghost?" and everybody like, "Oh my gosh," and then they just jump from there.
That's a good
You
point.
catering to your fans. It's not about you. It's about the fans and where you are. So it's to me, this is it's not rocket science, to be honest.
It's not, but it is the HBCU marching sport, or the science of HBCU bands in a lot of ways. And those that are not necessarily familiar with it, you bring a different perspective that really brings a light to it. And you bring a point that even if you're involved in it, if you're not careful and you don't really develop the science, you can find yourself in trouble as well.
Yeah. So you have this big recruiting opportunity. I don't understand. And to be honest, I'm pissed off that my program is not
I can feel
showing
it.
up like they should. I'm
feel
just
it.
disappointed, to be honest, because I love.
He sounds like a big time old school basketball player that comes back to see his basketball program,
And they're not doing what they want to do. Yeah,
especially after he won, or she won several championships. Football program that was highly ranked when they played, and is now not doing those type of things. You sound just like that, or a big time fan that just fell in love with the program for so many years. During the time that they were doing really well, and they're not doing that well. You can hear it in your voice of how you bring in the analysis, but at the same time putting your passion and personal concern in a lot of ways with your program and where it is right now.
Yeah, and I'm for sure I'm not the only one that think that, where's my program going? It's disappointing and it's heartening because people want to see the Sonic Boom of the South. They want to see this band, but after the performance, it's like, that's it? Is that it? So, I can't be biased when I'm doing my analysis and I'm presenting to you guys, but that's the truth. I think North Carolina is on something really major. I'm glad to see FAMU is back in stride. And Grambling just had what I call a climax show. They started off safe, and they just climaxed to the point that when they left that field, it was on fire.
Oh, that's what you want, yeah. Let me ask this question, James, and I kind of take a look at it from a broad sense. We're roughly over 50 years now of watching show bands, and a lot of us who watch them week in, week out. I think I hear this from a lot of fans that I don't see anything new. Do you think HBCU fans have become a little desensitized to watching the excitement of the HBCU band week in, week out?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a loaded question, Charles, because when you first asked the question, I was about to say yes, but don't. Oh. To the campus. Now
No
we're
doubt.
not all the campus, but we're very essential to the campus. Just like your football team, your basketball team, and
You're
anything else. But when you have programs that was once, like you said, 50 years ago, like the Texas Southerns, and they're still. I mean, Texas Southern was the band back in the 50s. Now you're like, where are they now? Still in existence, but their program used to be the program, better than Jackson State and Southern at one point. And then you say, okay, what happened? I don't know. So.
Yeah, I think that gets to the point where, in a lot of ways, you bring up a good point when you start looking at the analysis of bands. we don't know how to quite measure wins and losses.
Right.
Other than you doing the critique, but it's not in the record book, so it's not as easy to see bands go on these highs and lows or these runs like you see in other sports.
Right.
Where you can measure, did you win a championship this year? You did you come in second and third place? Or you finish in seventh and eighth? You don't have that perspective in the wins and loss columns. So I think it's harder to see the valleys. But it's just like any other sport, and that's why I use the term marching sport. Once I was, it was brought to my attention because when you really look at HBCU bands as a competition, meaning in terms of sports, you start seeing that you can have a band that is really at a height. And like you said, maybe it's because they're understanding the time they're in, they're understanding their space better. They have acceptance about ascendancy of where they want to be recognized, so they're doing these things versus a band that kind of lives on their tradition, if you would, in a lot of ways.
Right.
And so they're not inventing themselves. They're not necessarily coming out with really new things. They may be doing new things, but not really being innovative in those new things, if that makes sense. Your final thought on component, if you would, and kind of break that down.
Well, I, to your point, that is correct. They do have a place that I think they do have their place. Can be very creative. Now, the time that they have allowed it on during halftime has been taken away, and maybe that is a heartbreaking thing for them.
Great point.
But that does not stop the progress of these bands. They still recruit, they still have money, they still pay people through the college, and that's debt free. So you can't say that. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Jack State have 30-something tubas last year? So they doing something right, in order to bring these people to the program for a reason. But outside of the marching band, you have symphonic band, you have jazz band, you have other bands within the band department that these people come to. I don't think the energy of the synergy surrounding marching bands is not where it used to be in the past. And I know a lot of things have been taken away from them that stopped that motivation or that progress of wanting to get up and battle against a band. Is just like, oh well, things have not, you have hip hop songs that's leading music now, and it's taken away from a lot of things when we talk about the bands. You don't have the Earth, Wind and Fires and the Franklin Beverly and you don't have these songs anymore. So I appreciate the Honda Battle of the Bands because they do. You have these bands that says, I'm still here playing this song. Don't give up on me. Sam, you playing, their ballad and people just cheering like, yeah, it was symphonic. It sounded so good and the crowd just went, wow. So it's not gone. It's just like, what band would bring it back to where it used to be?
Oh, very interesting points, yeah.
Great interview. Thank you for your time. We'll keep you on the schedule. Obviously, it's time to prepare, and we'll probably get a chance to get you on during the summer a little bit as we do our research series and just get a chance to really get into some deeper components of HBCU bands. But then, obviously, we'll have you back on as we start to kick things off and see where you are in regards to, just like we do for the football season. We'll have our kickoff review of HBCU bands coming into the 2020 football and band season, if you would, for the academic year 2020-2021. So just want to say thank you for your time and really breaking down the battle of the bands in terms of what's going on there.
And keep doing what you guys are doing. I know you all have Lindsey Hunter at the beginning. I was overhearing you all with Kobe, and I just want to say to all, I think Kobe personally, he was a major impact to my son and how he wanted to play basketball because of Kobe. And him as an entrepreneur and a father is just unbelievable. I was sitting here and saying, everybody's going to ask, what were you doing when this happened, and it's just like Michael Jackson, or what happened. What were you doing with Whitney Houston or Dr. Martin Luther King? It was also where were you and what you were doing when Kobe, and it's like that. That's how big he was in our community. So we're gonna miss him, and my son is gonna miss him because he made a major impact in his life when it comes to basketball. So
There it is. We was talking about that. Thank you for
Thank you,
sharing
John.
that as well, and thank you again for your time. As
All right,
we
man.
say,
Y'all
go
take care.
Tigers, go Sonic. Oh, what is
Yes, all the time.
all the time.
Man, I can't believe I did this. Oh, man.
All right, man. Y'all
All
have a
right,
good
good
evening.
job,
Thanks,
brother.
James.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Take care.
it. Oh, sick.
Bye.
Man, that's pretty fascinating, Charles. Good job today, man. You just cutting up in so many different ways. I don't know what it is. You get a chance to show out with Jackson State. You bring the funk with you.
Bring some of the Jackson State in.
Yeah, holding up on us a little bit like
yeah,
that.
you know, every
Tell
now
us-
and
tell
then I
us.
might have some more fun stuff out there.
Man, I just don't know.
What up, world? It's your boy Rob Calloway, host of the HBCU Report, and right now, you're inside the HBCU Sports Lab with my guy, all hail the dean of HBCU Sports. You know I named him that. Dr. Kenyatta Kabil, my guy. What's happening, man?
Thought I'd share that with you. You know, just this sound like the perfect time to get that kind of.
Hey, yeah, I wonder. It did sound like the perfect time, didn't it?
Shout out to Charles as he starts the next series educationally. We'll share that at the appropriate time. But he's working on another abstract and paper. Check this one out for those out there. This one is, as an abstract, is titled "Examining Inside the HBCU Sports Lab Through Entertainment Management, Sports Radio, Digital Media, Leveraging Social Capital to Move from the Margins." Opening statement is: the study examines historically black higher education sports talk radio and its connection between college sports and blacks as it is structured in the United States. This is an exploration hypothesizing that it is at the same time local, national, international, and intersectorial, based on a research project carried out with the radio show Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. The author shows that the show caters to a national, African American, international black audience. Just to give you a little tease in terms of what Brother Bishop, Mr. Charles Bishop, is working on. Obviously, I'm trying to put my little foot in there a little bit, but he's carrying the water on that. With that, I do want to get in here as we start to close up, give you my latest and greatest on the men's and women's top 10 poll rankings of HBCU. Before that, let me make sure I go to Facebook and give a shout out and some love for those folks following us a little bit. Then I'll do my final tease of the HBCU, throwing in there. Hope folks are enjoying the show today. Reggie says, "What's up? Good day, gentlemen. CIAA strong. Yeah, big matchup between Johnson C. Smith and Winston-Salem State. Big game coming up this weekend as well.
7-2 versus 7-3.
Ooh, somebody's going to take that next step."
Yes, they are.
Diane Weber, good evening, fellas. Diane always brings it.
Messy Monday.
She'll bring a tear to your eye.
Yes, indeed.
Whether it's because you crying literally or you're laughing at somebody crying, one of the
Right.
ways. Lawrence D. White, hello, checking in from Big D. Appreciate you, Lawrence. Troy Lamont Coleman, Aggie Troy is in the house. Yeah, the Aggies, boy.
What a time
Yeah.
to be an Aggie.
Man, you tell me.
Yes, indeed.
Man, you'll never hear it if they beat up Jack State baseball coming on the
Oh,
road.
my gosh.
That's going to be fun to check out.
Yeah, it will
They
be.
got me thinking about sneaking over there.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one to get over there. That's going to be played in Smith-Will Stadium, former
All I need is a little floor. I get floor. Look,
you good to go?
Yeah, I'm right. I'm good with you.
Playing in
Something
a historic stadium over there.
Yeah, Diane Weber, Isaiah Thornton, making sure that he has us back in the audio as he does his thing. Lawrence D. White, Anthony White, just giving a shout out to a couple of other Diane Weber is either crying or sweating over there with the little smiley face, showing us, acknowledging, appreciate you. Check out Diane. Let me know what you think of the poll rankings. The Texas Southern Tigers, both men's and women's, they're in the top 5. So you talking about another program, certainly in the sport of football, and a lot of other Olympic sports. Still working on the football side, but getting it done there. So let me see if I can jump in here and give you a little love in terms of what we got for, I'd like to do it in regards to the women, but might have to pull up the men first. But I'd like to do chivalry, but I guess I need to find my way here and organize myself. But we'll get it straight.
I got you pulled up.
Thank you. With that, I finally appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
You know I was going to sneak that out. Receiving votes, Hampton Lady Pirates in the Big South, as we talking about, 10-8, 6-3. Can't quite get on a nice, good run without somebody thumping them a little bit.
Yeah.
Sitting top third of the Big South Conference, but they're just receiving votes. But everybody else is playing such good basketball, they can't crack the top 5. Now, this is a program during the heyday when they were in the MEAC. They ran 1-2 spot.
Right.
Regular, with several of my national champions on the women's side, major division. But now they can't even get in the top 5 in terms of the record. Excuse me. With number 5, North Carolina A&T State. Aggies sit at 13-6, 5-2. Again, this is the women's 2020 HBCU Major Division basketball poll rankings, week number 4. 50 points, bringing us to the number 4. Texas Southern Tigers sit at 11-7, 6-1. They have one first place vote, 76 points. They were previously ranked 3. They fell this weekend, have a tough matchup, but good teams find ways to win. Literally went down on a 3-point at the end of the game and took a timeout, got the layup, held on defense, and got the victory as they sweep Mississippi Valley and Arkansas Pine Bluff, respectively.
Right.
At number 3, Bethune-Cookman Lady Wildcats, 14-5, 6-1. They are still rolling, playing some good basketball. 78 points. Previously ranked 5. They jump up 3 spots after they win 2 straight. You have Jackson State Lady Tigers, 9-8, 7-0, 7 straight conference games they've won, including a win over Texas Southern that was undefeated at the time. 3 first-place votes. They sit at number 2, 93. Can't quite get over that hump because you got a team out of Virginia, the Norfolk State Spartanettes, as they are appropriately nicknamed. 12-7, 6-0, 6 first-place votes that are just rolling, getting it done. 107, but as we said, big matchup this weekend, both on the men's and women's side, as you have Norfolk State taking on North Carolina A&T. Both obviously on the men's and women's side, with both teams ranked in the top 5. But this matchup would be a 1 versus a 5 in the matchup on Saturday. Should be interesting to see what goes on there. What are your thoughts on the women top 5? Any concerns you have in that top 5? You think Hampton should be in there, or you like that they're just receiving votes?
I like Hampton right where they are, receiving votes. They played a tough schedule, if you will, within the Big South. Young lady, Nyla Young, she keeps getting it done week in, week out for Hampton, but another loss to High Point this past week. What concerns me in looking at Texas Southern up close is they have a tendency to take the foot off the gas. Like you said,
they were up 16 points.
I think they were up 18 points at one point. So, but like you said, good teams still figure out a way to get the victory. But we've seen now a couple of games now where they've been up big and kind of let a team kind of stay around. So you want to see them put teams away, even though maybe just a lull this past weekend. But I think this is a tough 5 right here when you talk about Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman, Jackson State, Norfolk State. Amaya Scott is a top-notch performer for Bethune-Cookman week in, week out.
Certainly. So you have 3 MEAC schools, 2 SWAC schools, top 5, spreading all that out. It doesn't hurt if your Texas Southern Tigers have a Hall of Famer on the sideline.
Not at all.
Go down.
Not at
Everybody
all.
else panicking, looking down. Fans all quiet, looking crazy, trying to get cheer and say, let's go.
Right.
Maybe looking a little stunned and worried. She calls timeout. Hey, run this.
Just like that.
Bucket.
But you know what? And I'll say this. We've talked Jackson State, Texas Southern, but after the opening weekend, the Texas two-step with Southern Alcorn, where they went 0-2, they're right back in the thick of things in terms of win streaks and whatnot. So
that's both on the men's and women's side.
women's side, exactly.
Alcorn, so credit to the Braves down there finding a way to turn the tables, get it on. Probably if you take out Texas Southern and Prairie on the men's side, Texas Southern, and obviously Jackson State on the women's side, the hottest team, both men's and women's, probably arguably Alcorn State. Southern might have a little something to do about that. And oddly enough, somebody is going to end that streak this weekend.
Right.
As the two rivalries play in that
head-to-head.
single matchup this weekend. Let's get into the men quickly as we start to get it done. Diane Weber, I might add, does say go Tigers.
Yes, I hear that weekly now.
T in there. Receiving votes on this side: South Carolina State Bulldogs 10-10, 4-3, 45 points. Alcorn State Braves that you just talked about, both men's and women. On the men's side, they're receiving votes just on the outside of the top 5: 10-9, 6-2, 5-3. You have at number 5 North Carolina A&T State Aggies 10-12, 6-1, as they have 51 points. They were ranked 5 last week. They stay at the 5 spot. But number 4, Tennessee State Tigers 12-9, 4-4. 2 first place votes. They were previous number 1. They dropped all the way from the number 1 spot to number 4 with 62 points. So you know there will be a new number 1. Who do you think it will be? At number 3, Prairie View A&M University, the Panthers, they're 10-10, 6-1. 1 first place vote, 82 points. Previous rank 4. They're at the 3 spot. Bring us to number 2. Norfolk State Spartans sit at 10-11, 6-0. 3 first place votes at 95 points. Previous rank 2, so they stay there. The new number 1 team this week is none other than the Texas Southern Tigers right here out of Houston. 12-11, 6-1. 5 first place votes, 102. 3 moving up 2 spots all the way from number 3 last week to get the number 1 spot. A lot of that is obviously the win streak that they're on, but that the fact that they're one of the few teams that has beat another top 5 program on the record. Obviously, they had what you thought was a bad loss to Alcorn State, but now we're finding out
Alcorn is pretty
even
good
though it's
team.
at home,
Yeah.
that was not a bad loss.
wasn't a
As
fluke.
Alcorn sits at number 3 in the conference race, with just 2 conference losses, one to Prairie View, a team that Texas Southern beat. So you talk about if you go top 6, they beat 2 of the top 6 programs, while you have other teams that will get a chance maybe to make a statement this weekend. As we talked about on the women's side, you have that on the men's side with Norfolk State taking on North Carolina A&T, and that matchup on the men's side is 2 versus 5. So it'll be interesting to see, can Texas Southern hold on to that number 1 spot based on what Norfolk State Spartans do this week, and Tennessee State with the 12 victories, can they make a statement and try to get back in the winning ways, as they've been floating basically 500. They've lost 2 straight, 2 of the last 3, 4 of the last 6. So having some momentum problems as they're just 4-4 in conference race. So what are your thoughts on the men's side?
Well, Texas Southern, I think they're deserving number 1. Eden Ewan this past week, he was named Player of the Week. 17 points, 16 rebounds against Valley, and he comes back Monday night, 18 points, 7 rebounds against UAPB. Was kind of waiting for the emergence of Eden Ewan to really help that Texas Southern team out, especially with him and Yahusas Rosas on the boards. They really can control a game. You take a look at North Carolina A&T, Cameron Langley. They come in at number 5, but messed around. He had a triple-double this past week. So, kudos to him. Yes, indeed. They went 2-0 this past week. Cameron Langley, 15 points, 12 assists, 8 rebounds this past week, and then he had the triple-double Monday. So, kudos to both of those teams. But, Norfolk State, steady as she goes, 6-0 in conference play. North Carolina A&T nipping on their heels at 6-1. But from what I've seen thus far, Texas Southern is very worthy.
So who you got, last thing, who do you got? North Carolina A&T and Norfolk State. Who do you got this?
Norfolk State. I think they are more consistent. Their scoring is very balanced, and they were lights out this past week. I think they shot 60% in the first half or something like that. But very, very tough team. Fun team to watch.
Quick one, just for funds. Alcorn State and Southern, men's and women, 2 of the hottest programs. What do you got, men, Southern, Alcorn?
Where are they playing at?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because to me that makes a difference. I think if that game is on the reservation, I favor Alcorn. And I favor Southern because they kind of look like they mirror each other. Where is it at? It's in Baton Rouge. So that's going to be a tough one, I think, for Alcorn to get on the road. I'm going to go with
women first.
Women first. I'm going to go Southern at home.
All right, men.
I go Southern at home. I go Southern at home.
Man, I thought you wanted to say the Braves.
I pulled a parachute on that one. I go Southern at home.
taking the easy way out.
Yep.
That'll do it for us. Thank you for giving us a little time there. This is Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, presented by Amber Slaughter, the project architect. Amber Slaughter, the project architect, where they handle the project planning, project development, project execution, and team management, so you can run your business. Contact Amber Slaughter, the project architect, at www.theprojectarchitect.com to schedule an appointment. That is www.theprojectarchitect.com to schedule an appointment. You want to share what's coming up next? You want to share with them what's coming up next?
Tonight on Soapbox Heroes, we are going to be talking about the reporter from MSNBC. I want to get some.
That's appropriate.
I want to hear some honest, fair opinion and thoughts. We're going to have some exchange of thoughts, and then we're going to talk about some discrimination that we know about. We're going to talk about the banks and some things that are going on with some of the major banks like Wells Fargo, things like that. So we're going to talk about discrimination that we have to question and discrimination that's in our face. Which one is more important to you? But we're going to talk about
Great
that.
point,
Thanks,
Tyrone. Oh, no problem. Tyrone giving it to you. He done cleaned up for y'all today. He just showed up, got on the blazer, boy. You looking hot, man. Look at that. He can join the show with us. I like that. Clean up. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. As we come to close, we hope you enjoyed our lecture, our interviews with James Wesby, as well as recorded conversation with Coach Lindsey Hunter. Thank you for checking those out. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington's on assignment, taking care of business. He'll be out for a couple of weeks, so we'll hold it down for the fort. Safe travels for the brother. Every Tuesday, 6 to 7, right here on KCOH 1230 AM, Houston, Texas. That is The Source, KCOH, The Source. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. DrKenyattaCavil, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon.
Course lecture dismissed.
For all of your electrical needs, call Taylor Electric at 832-287-53.